Hey, welcome to What's the Story? My name is Janice Hermson. I'm your host. I'm here with Ed Knoll today. Mr. Doug Ashby is living in flood world, I'm afraid. He had a little
Wow.
something happen at his house,
Wasn't
and
there a movie called Waterworld?
I think so. Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah. I
think
think he's living in it.
that's so unfortunate.
It is. It really is. It's terrible. So we're sorry, Doug, that you're experiencing what you are, and we're sorry you're not here with us, but we'll try and make the best of it and give him a good show today.
Well, right. A big shout out to you. And here, Doug's all flooded in dry country, and
Oops, sorry about that,
to all
folks.
those folks affected by hurricanes and floods of every sort, from right the Ohio River down to
Man,
Key
all
West,
over.
best I
Yeah.
know. So hang in there, folks.
Yeah, please do. And hopefully things will improve. I heard that in North Carolina, it's still not good. I saw a post from General Flynn, I think it was, and a couple other podcasters. Well, not podcasters, obviously, if they're podcasters, you don't see them. Video casters. Was that what we call them? I don't know.
I don't know. I never realized the podcasters are blank faces. That's a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah, apparently Doug isn't getting my messages because I sent him a message saying I did get his message, but he says cleanup is almost done and plumber has fixed the leak. How about that?
So I
So
thought
good for him.
So if I recall right, didn't he have a leak? I mean, that was a month
Couple weeks
ago.
ago,
At least
yeah.
3 weeks.
It's
At
been a
least
while.
that water's running under there. He's.
He needs to check all those pipes, I
He
think,
might have a
right?
koi pond.
Perhaps. That's pretty funny. All right. Well, I want to talk today a little bit. First, I think I'm going to remind you about my Substack, which I try to do every week because I'd love for you to subscribe. I'm sorry, I'm looking for it. Here it is. I'd love for you to subscribe, and that way, before our shows, you will be able to know what we're going to talk about, and you can tune in.
Yeah, they
Right?
can. Or
Sorry, I'm being distracted here.
That's
Can
all
you
right.
tell?
Your co-host wasn't very good at jumping in and like seeing that.
What can I tell you? I was
But
just
I think it's important if they know, the subject ahead of time. Maybe you got a question,
right.
right? Get it to us either text, voice, or call.
Yep. And on the screen, you see that this is our picture for our word of the day. And Ed said he had not gotten my email, and he was able to guess the word of the day before he saw it. So.
I usually get the, our plans for the day, what we're
Right.
talking about, word of the day, that kind of stuff before the Substack. But I saw my Substack first, so I got to guess without knowing the word. But this word, if I recall right, is at least a second offender. We may have had it 3 times, and I think it's a superior word to all other words.
I even said that to my sister. I said, "Didn't I do this already?" And she said, "I don't think so." So
Well,
maybe she wasn't listening.
It might be a year. It might be one in whatever 50,
it could
50
be.
words, right? We do every week.
We do it every week. Yeah.
There's 1 or 2 more words than 50 in the English language.
There are, but this one, I think because of the fact that it applies to writing as well, that it's such a good word. So you want to share our word of the day?
Yeah.
If you have not guessed what it is, it is
It is not change.
not change, not clouds, not skies. What is it?
Omniscient.
Yes, omniscient. And as I said, it is a word that you can use, that you use when you're writing as far as what your point of view is. And I'm sure that's probably why I chose it before, was because I was talking about point of view for writers.
Well, I think it is, and that's a good thing. I'm not a writer, but I don't have that. I don't have that view,
Right.
of where you're controlling the environment,
Everything.
Best I know,
Yeah.
the world and other planets.
What
Right?
a great place to be as a writer. I
It
think
is.
That's a great perspective because you get to do it all.
Well,
and
right.
you get to see it all and to know it all. And that's exactly what the word means.
I
right?
never looked at it that way.
Yeah. And what a great thing. So that's the word of the day. We don't have Doug here for our synonyms, and I don't think either of us, we didn't know he wasn't going to be here. He didn't know he was going to be here. So we don't have our synonyms, but I mean, you can kind of guess, right? Having complete or unlimited knowledge, awareness, or understanding, perceiving all things. So all knowing, what else could you come up with?
I was going with the contrast, the antagonism, right? Like clueless.
Oh, but you're doing the antonyms instead of synonyms. Okay.
Because I think that this word is defined by the losers around it. Most folks don't chase the ring, right?
Okay.
You know
All
what I'm
right.
saying?
Yeah, I do. All right.
I mean, this is more theological, maybe.
Could be. Yeah, you could look at it that way as well. So, all right. So our show today is all about what perspective do you have this voting season? So what I did is I asked, especially for Nevadans, what's your perspective? Are you someone who wants it all just to go away? Do you never vote, always vote, only vote early, only vote on election day? Do you feel it's a duty? So, how do you feel about it, Ed? Are you a day of election voter or?
So my life, when I was younger and started voting, I traveled and I was in the corporate world, and I absentee ballot probably like
Most of the
30
time.
years until they
Yeah.
sent us free ones.
Right.
But back in the day, you filled out the request in your sample
Right.
ballot, sent it back to the registrar of voters. They packaged you out an envelope and you got it, and then you could turn it in.
There you go.
So that's how I've always voted. It just gave me the leisure to do it at home and get it in on time and never be late.
Gotcha.
Right? I was always worried about the flat tire.
Well, I'm pretty much a day of voter, and I have voted early. And when I was working down in LA, I did vote early. But for the most part, I'd say I really prefer to vote day of. But I know that the Democrats like to vote early, and the Republicans this year were just pushing the vote early thing, and there were a lot of conservatives that were very upset about that. But when you look at what's happening right now and kind of the psychology of it all, I guess maybe there was something to it all. So I have to admit that I might have been wrong. Oh no, not me.
Well, so there's philosophies of mind and what we think folks should do. Then there's real life. And in this case, if President Trump was looking at the election and looking for weaknesses, early voting was for sure a weakness.
Oh, okay. That's true. It was a weakness. And, now here we are. So
It's a strength today
It is.
as we sit here
It
with a
is,
week
yeah.
to go.
Yeah.
Right? 1 week. 1 week.
1 week. That's all we've got. Wow, that's amazing. So we're not going to do any more synonyms. You don't.
Yeah, I'm good with synonyms. I was going to say,
Feminines?
this is one of those naive points of discussion where they are spending billions of ad dollars, right? And all these stations, radio, TV,
It's true.
are making bank. And best I know, they could have taken the combined money from Harris and Trump and gotten us out of debt.
Yeah.
Right. I mean,
Seriously.
it would have seriously gotten
Yeah.
rid of the federal debt instead.
Yeah.
They spend it on spitting on each other.
There you go.
And there's a certain amount of donation that it's too much. I mean, I'm a free speech guy, but there's so much money. You got to do some good with it.
Yeah, I agree.
That's where I
I
am.
agree. All right. So one last reminder, subscribe to my hermson.substack.com if you want to know what's going on. Or occasionally I do put out some posts from other people as well as some of my own. Haven't had a lot of time to do any writing. We also are we are not sponsored by any particular large brand. We do have sponsorships here and there, but we do rely on folks out there to support us in whatever way you can. And even clicking a like is a support to us.
Yes,
So,
indeed. And, we are the thinking person's Substack.
there you go. We are. So I did want to share with you, I did have a reply to my questions from one of our followers. Her name is Elise, and she said, so my question was, are you someone who wishes this would all just go away? And she said, yes, the text messages are getting old. Do you always vote? Yes. But when I switched my party affiliation to nonpartisan, things got more complicated. Do you only vote early? Only vote on election day? She says, I've done both. We'll try to vote early this year, but the lines are so long. Can you believe that? The lines are so long. And then we found that. We saw it.
Again, oxymoron, chip 'em.
Do you feel it's a duty? Yes, especially if you have an opinion about how our communities and our country is run. Then she said, as a fiction author, I try hard to remain neutral in my writing, but I'm only human. I believe all authors put their political, social perspectives into their writing on a subconscious level. We can't help ourselves. The challenge is not to be polarizing. We want to grow readers, not alienate. And with that comes that cliche, you can please some people some of the time, but never all people all of the time. And I want to ask you, her name is Elise Mannion. She has a Substack called Happy Distractions, and she did not ask me to do this, but I would ask you to subscribe. So I will find some of her writings, and if you subscribe to me, I'll post some of her stuff, and then maybe you can give her a subscription as well and give her a like at the same time. Thank you, Elise, for responding to my questions.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Isn't that great? Yeah.
It was really, really awesome. I think
very
it's
thoughtful.
Well, it is, and it's so, fascinating to me, people's paths, right? Like, well, my son is a registered voter, right? He's going to be 21. This is the second time he'll be voting.
Right.
But because he's young, I think, I don't get Democrat stuff, but he's, I think, a registered Republican. And because he's new and young,
yeah.
I'm getting mail at the wazoo. I'm getting all the left mail. And it is ridiculous, right? It's kind of funny to have both sides.
Yeah, I was going to say, you thought the right was bad. Ooh,
well,
look out.
I got some newspapers too, like the Epic Times and the Catholic News, I think. And I was pleasantly surprised to see the aggression, anti-abortion, anti-letting someone control your life. It was harsh against the left. And I was saying, here in this town, that Bishop Minogue and that Catholic group there, right, is all involved in kids' sports and things, but they're lefty-loosey. They are way left from their actions. They're not anything like the newspaper I got saying how Catholics are, at least in our space. Here, they're Democrats for whatever reason, and we need them back.
Yeah, so... All right. So on that note, I want to remind everybody behind me to No on 3 signs, because that's what I believe, No on 3. And 3 is the ranked choice voting, the open primaries. And I know they make it sound good that it's going to, open up the primary so everybody can vote. You can already vote now.
You think Nevada's a joke now?
Yeah. And then on either Wednesday or Thursday, I have not confirmed the date and time yet. I apologize for that, but I'm trying to get this firmed up. I wanted to have somebody that was yes on 3 along with somebody who was no on 3, which was Bruce Parks from the chair of the Republican Washoe Republican Party. And so Bruce confirmed with me, but the other gentleman has not yet confirmed. So I don't know if I'm going to have him. So I'm trying to structure it so we can have both sides of this. Even though I am definitely no on 3, I do think it's important for everybody to hear both sides. So if I can't get him, I'm going to do something so that we have another side one way or the other, even if I have to take it.
Right.
Right. I think
I'm
we
the same.
need both sides.
You can take a side of an
argument
and take care of that. I think that anyway, that's what we should be doing on every issue.
Right.
Right.
So
pros and cons, and make a choice.
On that note, I want to talk a little bit about the border and Kamala Harris on the border, because there was this whole thing about her not being the border czar. And there is, if I
What
can,
was that? That was truth.
that she was not the border czar.
Correct.
Okay. Well, I pulled up something because if you go to thisistreason.com, you'll see some whistleblowers, and I'm not going to show you that screen. I'm going to show you something else. But you'll see some whistleblowers that are talking about the fact that the border is a mess, and the border is the government is trafficking children and women, and I don't know if they're trafficking men. All I've heard is women and children. But the fact of the matter is this is the person that is doing that. And this is the person that some of you want to vote for.
It's beyond belief.
And
I mean, it just this is not, she can't elude this.
So the whole thing was that everybody was saying, well, she's not the border czar.
She is.
And so, yeah, so right here, the claims are verifiably false. Kamala Harris was never border czar, Time magazine claimed.
There were no voting problems in 2020.
Yes, exactly. A USA Today fact check headline said Harris border work was on root causes of migration. She wasn't in charge. And yet, if you continue on here, PolitiFact wrote, claims that the President Joe Biden named Harris the border czar and she's responsible for overseeing U.S. border enforcement gained prominence in the Republican National Convention as the party sought to link her. Well, yeah, because she's linked.
I saw it.
Harris was the second woman chosen as a border czar by the president.
I saw the president do that. He
was excited, and everybody was.
And they're telling me it didn't happen now? They're trying to tell you that stuff I saw didn't happen.
Right.
Well, it's not working.
No. After 100 days on the job, Roberta Jacobson, President Joe Biden's first border czar, left the role on April 9th. In her place, he assigned it to Kamala Harris. He said that, she's border czar is stepping down. Before she did, Biden announced in a March 24th, 2021 news conference that Harris would be responsible for addressing the Southwest border surge that already began within days of him taking office.
This is a common Democrat thing. They don't do their jobs. They don't work for the American people.
And what he said is, I can think of nobody who's better qualified to do this than the former California Attorney General. So where in that is it that she's not the border czar? It just is not true. So one of the things that he also said, and he says, because we can chew gum and walk at the same time, we must address the root causes that cause people to make the trek. Well, one of the root causes that caused them to do it is they're giving them lots of money when they get here.
Well, and I don't think
healthcare, all sorts of things.
I don't think Waltz can walk and chew gum at the same time, right? I mean, just saying. And maybe Camilla, right? They're not that bright.
No. They're not very good at what they do.
My personal opinion.
Right. So, again, you can vote for whomever you choose. However, I am going to say that for me, I would tell you anyone but Kamala. Anyone but Kamala. And I don't care who it is. Doesn't have to be Trump, but anyone but Kamala. So I'm going to take you to, if I can type, treason.
It's so funny because as a kid, I was that way. Hey, leave it alone if things work, right? But government here doesn't work for us. They work for them. I grew up in Ohio, right? The government there works for the people. Here, the government works for institutions that keep things from the people. It's horrible.
So here is the page I was talking about. Thisistreason.com. And it is a documentary that shows you a whole lot about what's been going on the border. And I'm not being paid to promote this, by the way. And I did actually want to ask the producers of this to come on the show, and I just didn't get a chance to call them either. It's been a busy time, what can I tell you? So watch this trailer. It's called This is Trafficked and What is Treason? And then this one, which is from Invaded, or I guess they're using the hashtag Invaded. So just check this out, because if you're on the fence about who you're going to be voting for, I think that knowing what Kamala Harris has not done, I would say more not done than done.
Well, they're so against the slavery from 100, 200 years ago that, and why did they do this? I mean, and they don't deny it.
No, they don't. She doesn't deny that she's the border czar. I think everybody else denies it for her. All the media does. But the fact of the matter is, she is the border czar. She has done nothing to keep us safe. She's done nothing. I mean, 325,000 children have been trafficked,
And
lost,
disappeared.
and have disappeared.
Yep.
Okay, I can't say they've been trafficked, but if we can't find them, where are they?
Right.
Where are they?
And to me,
What if this was your child?
this goes back, and I mean, it's been going on since there was control at the border.
Right.
I mean, it's a disease.
But now it is, and the video that I'm recommending for you to the trailer and the video itself, the documentary, will show you how much money is being made. This is, I think it's competing with what they make on drugs. So
It's likely more.
it's always about money, and that's why they do these things. And our government is supporting this. And so I really feel strongly. I generally will not try and tell anybody what to do other than three, but
Well, and we'll get into, to me, right, government, when you get into GDP and all these things, our government in the United States is over half the economic output. That is not right.
no.
That is not right. We are an independent country. Our government needs to be in that 25% space or less,
Yeah.
not more. It's way too big. And anyway, my 2 cents.
No, your 2 cents are worth more than two. So what's been going on out there in our world of elections? Because this show is a whole lot about elections.
It's so funny. I think I have a million takes, but so nothing wrong with voting 2020, nothing wrong last year. How come everybody's got a microscope on them then? How come they keep finding all these indiscretions in every state,
Every state, yes.
right? They find them, and it looks to me like, remember when they used to call us election deniers?
Yes.
To me, they are just deniers of reality.
Well, and I don't know if anyone saw the New York Times magazine article, but they did a article about certification and some of the things that happened at one of the meetings here in Washoe County. I don't know if they're doing the same thing. I haven't seen anything so much in Las Vegas. They may be that we just haven't seen it. But
I tried to pay attention, but
Yeah.
I'm not that good yet.
well, and I haven't seen anybody post about it. And I kind of have connections in both areas, but I haven't seen anything. However, I have heard very similar things happening in Clark County that are also happening here. And I'm going to touch on that in a little bit. But in the meantime, I thought I'd share with you that when the polls opened on the 19th, and I have in Nye County, they couldn't open due to their poll pads. And I do have a note to myself that says, not sure this is exactly accurate as far as what the reason behind it was, but somebody did say it had something to do with either they couldn't access the poll pads or couldn't make them work, something. So, so that's on the first day of voting, on early voting. And then the poll pads were traded out on Sunday, October 20th, because of sinking issues. I believe that was up here in northern Nevada. I'm not sure which location that was, so I don't want to misspeak on that. On the 20th, again, which was, I believe, Sunday, right? There was a big rally at UNR, and our Secretary of State, Cisco Aguilar, was there. So that's interesting, right?
What was he doing? He was probably like a rally for Kamala.
Little John the Rapper was there. So I don't know what to tell you. And I don't know that that's really a violation of anything. Somebody said, well, it's employee misconduct or whatever. But you know what? He's supposed to be nonpartisan at this point.
Well, these folks in other states, like the guy in Georgia or the guy in other places, They are, hey, this is it. This is what we're doing. He's like a cloak and dagger basement magician, right? I mean, he doesn't want to tell anything. And then when he says something, it's not, it doesn't make any sense. He's not a good communicator, and his policy's pretty bad too, I think.
Yep. And then there is a group called Election Protection, and they're touting themselves as nonpartisan volunteers. They've been at Washoe County, and this is kind of to inform voters because, as a voter, I walked in, I did my thing, I, either voted in person or in one year, I know I did bring in my ballot, but I did bring it in. And then, you kind of leave, right? You don't think too much about it. What's going on behind the scenes is kind of interesting, though, because these folks are supposed to be neutral. But if you look at their website, and they're nationwide, by the way, when you look at their website, it's mostly left-leaning groups. Now, there could be some that, are a little more in the middle, but you just really wonder, how can you call yourself nonpartisan? Just say what you are. But they're purporting that big badges on, and they're purporting to be nonpartisan. Ask us if you have problems.
By definition, if they sell the fact that they're nonpartisan and come out with a right agenda, maybe for them, more people believe them. Yeah. But to me, it's just lying again.
Yeah. And then there is a complaint that has floated not only this year. There's somebody that has said that because, I'm going to just read, posting of early voter turnout. So we get, and I know I'm not sure that every state does this, but I know our state does this. We post the early voter turnouts. So you know how many Republicans, how many Democrats, how many nonpartisans, how many no party folks.
How many independents?
Independents, yep.
They break them out by the 3.
Right. So they post those turnouts. And this person is saying that under the voters, and I didn't ask her if I could say her name, so I'm not going to tell you that, but under the Voters' Bill of Rights, NRS 293.2546, which states that each voter has the right. Hang on, I got my page folded and I can't read it here. So let me.
Oh, look at that.
I know, it's a great big piece of paper here.
Look at your board.
Oh, look at you. All right. So each voter has the right, this is a quote, to vote without being intimidated, threatened, or coerced. So she states, I have also stated that this was also how they were cheating. They knew the numbers in advance of Election Day of how many mail ballots they needed to inject by Election Day. So, whether you believe that or not, no voting results of mail ballots may be released until all polling places are closed and all votes have been cast on the day of the election. Any person who disseminates to the public in any way information pertaining to the count, and then my page goes off the page, the count of mail ballots before all polling places are closed and all votes have been cast on the day of the election is guilty of a misdemeanor. So what that's saying to us is that now they're not counting the votes necessarily, but they're telling you that X number of Republicans have voted, X number of Democrats, X number of independents. We all will extrapolate our own way. But let's just say that you saw that the Republicans were lagging way behind and you're kind of a low propensity voter, right? And you're a Republican. You might just look at that and say, well, we're going to lose anyway, so I'm not going to vote, right? Because there aren't enough people voting. Now, whether that's true or not, there's no data for me to support that thought, but just logically thinking about it, it just feels like we shouldn't be telling what the turnout is until we're done. And then those who want to vote, vote. Those who don't want to vote, don't.
And I'm with you on that. And I have a little story from, I went to the gym and I do yoga, as you know, and I was there Saturday morning and I'm coming down and there's a voting place.
Right, a polling place.
I'll call it a polling center.
Yeah.
In the
Vote
gym.
center.
And I'm walking out and there's a line.
Oh, I know where you were.
Right. And so there's a line and the workers came up and there was a person who hadn't voted before and they go, hey, we have a new voter, someone who's never voted before. And there's 150 people. That is a violation.
Yeah.
That is intimidation on an individual. Why would they
Why would they
ruin
do
his
that?
experience? It's not a birthday party. Right?
I can't believe they did that.
I'm walking and I
Was
hear
this the workers at the gym that did that, or the
No,
people
the
behind
workers for the polling place
Oh.
at the gym did. So that's where I was going. I have a friend, haha, who works at that polling place, and I saw him the other day, and I caught him off guard and said, "Hey, how you doing? Have a good day." I don't like him. He doesn't like me. There's you can have an entanglement at your polling place from just neighbors
Right.
and their attitude about what they think should happen.
Right.
It's sad. I
Yeah.
mean, that's not, I don't know, enforceable. It's just not right.
Yeah. That is kind of an intimidation type of
Totally
thing.
is.
Yeah.
I mean, I was shocked and appalled, but that's just another day in life as a conservative, isn't it?
Wow. Yeah. So as of the 22nd, I had documented what the different numbers were, because actually it was before the 22nd, because I was curious to see when it's all done. I'm going to take those same numbers and see how it all looks and how it all pans out.
Shell game. In Nevada, it's a shell game.
Well, and that's the thing. My whole interest in knowing whether or not there's validity to our election was when somebody said, well, when Trump said, hey, this was stolen. So I went to and I've told this story, sorry, you're going to have to hear it again. I went to the online, the votes had been certified in Nevada. The Supreme Court had certified numbers that they had completed. They also posted at that time, and I don't know if they're still doing this, but each county posted their numbers. I'm an accountant. I simply took all those numbers. Yes, I did document all those numbers.
You added them up, and we
I
have
added
like
them.
6 million people in Nevada.
Well, the thing is, none of it matched. It just didn't match. So in my mind, I was like, I got to be wrong about this. I must have written something down wrong. I must have done something wrong. Did it again, still came up wrong. But still, being who we are, I said, I've got to be wrong. This can't be real. Till I went to a meeting later, and it happened to be with Beatles, but it could have been anybody because other people have done it as well. And he said, added up the numbers, they don't match. And I was like, right.
Bada boom, bada
yes, right. And why did it take somebody else saying it for me to believe it? Because I am but one. And I really just thought I had to have done something wrong. Maybe I don't have the full picture of how this works, right? I mean, I've never been involved in an election, so maybe there's some excess numbers over here that I'm missing or more that they've posted that aren't, So, but even so, and I feel like I'm an idiot for feeling that way, but it just didn't make sense.
So trusting the system is an American thing.
Yes, and that was what I was doing.
I think that conservatives generally trusted the system until it's been proven that they're cheating us.
Right.
And so we're
Well,
aghast.
and then I guess I should tell my story. In 2022, I decided, well, I'm going to participate in this. So I actually applied to be in a runner in the election.
They can only be Democrats.
No, I didn't volunteer. I actually did get paid to do ballot running.
Cool.
Because I couldn't get in on the other part of it. They didn't have any more spaces for people, although they kept saying they didn't have enough people. So that didn't make sense. But anyway, so I became a ballot runner. And it was supposed to be opposing parties. So if I'm running and I'm one party, the other party should be different.
You should be in the same car,
That was not the
right?
case. That was not the case. So we mentioned that to the acting registrar at the time, and she said, no, we don't have enough people. It's okay. So first they have enough people, then they don't have enough people.
They don't know the rules.
So we went out, we did our thing. We, tried to be very fair, go to our first stop. And we had been trained, and part of the training was that we were going to pick up all these ballots, right? And we're looking for the canceled ballots. The canceled ballots were supposed to have a canceled stamp on them. And with the first location we went to, or maybe it was the second, they said, what canceled stamp? we don't know what you're talking about. So we had to actually show them, and they called, into the center and the whole thing. And there was some hubbub for a while, and they finally figured it out. But it was chaotic. The whole thing was chaotic at that point, because even though they'd been trained, they hadn't been trained because they really didn't know their job. So
I think they've had 5, Washoe County has had 5 registrar of voters in 4 years, right? Even the president gets a 4-year term, right? These folks, it looks to me like, they've gotten rid of folks so no one knows what's going on.
So as long as you're going to bring up the fact that we've lost some registrars, I'm going to share my screen again because this was announced yesterday.
Oh, they got rid of the new current one too?
No, this is actually Eric Brown, who is the county manager, and he has a lot to do with our elections. He's taking a month-long medical leave during the election. He started yesterday. They're saying it was pre-planned.
You can't make this. You can't make this stuff up, folks.
Yeah.
You really cannot make this up.
Yeah. Look at this. Starting today, Washoe County Manager Eric Brown is on a month-long planned medical leave through just November 29th. That's all. And God bless. I do not wish the man ill. Maybe it had to be now. Maybe that's the case. But you would think that this would have been maybe done at a little different time.
It looks to me like LaRue Press could make a turnover. All the Democrats are quitting their jobs before the election, or don't show up, or don't work. We're being ungoverned.
Well, his absence follows the forced medical leave of interim registrar of voters, Carrie Ann Burgess. So she announced recently that she has some counsel.
That she was forced out.
That she was forced out.
That she did not walk out.
Yes. So, and that she had asked if she could stay, she would step out of that role, do a different role. I mean, it sounded to, at least from her account, it sounded like she was being reasonable and saying, okay, you don't want me to do, I'm not going to do that. Can I do this? And then you can put somebody else in that position. But I want to work with the team. And she was told no. At least, again, that's her account. I have to say allegedly to all of this stuff. But isn't it ironic that now this gentleman, who is, I presume, her boss, I'd have to look that up, but I'm guessing he's her boss, and he's now taking a medical leave until the election is over and certified.
Ridiculous.
Yeah. So.
Serious? I mean, serious, folks. Look at the big picture. Trouble. Well, it cracks me up that there's voters that don't know, right? I mean, best I know, you see people, right? Don't we watch the news our whole lives, right? Don't you? I mean, President Trump and Kamala Harris are in the news every day. Didn't you know from the first time you saw either one of them? I don't know. I think the difference is just so stark. One of the big aggravations I have of elected officials is they don't know their jobs, right? I mean, here in Washoe County, we talk about our schools. I could give a hoot about the schools. It's about the kids in those schools getting an education, getting skills. Right here, it seems like schools, county government, it's the institutions. Communism, socialism value institutions. I value the people that are supposed to be helped by those institutions. That's America. Who cares about schools? I care about the skills our kids get. Who cares about the county government? I just want bridges fixed, roads fixed, potholes filled, right? People to have a clue during the fire, emergency services, right? Growing up, I was an apathetic voter because where I lived, all this stuff took place. It all happened as it was supposed to. Conservative governance. Here, everything's a magic show.
It seems that way. So those are the roots of my being what I guess I have been called an election denier. I don't deny that there's an election. I don't deny that numbers are put in there. But I do think that and again, this goes back to my accounting background, why wouldn't you audit? And I had a whole article on risk limiting audits and how bad they are and the people who develop them, because that's what the county will fall back on is we do risk limiting audits. those are not appropriate for the voting system the way it's being done. And there's, like I say, there's a whole study on that. And
government incompetence is no longer an excuse. You got to know the job, right? You can't get elected to a local job and go, woohoo, I'm king of the world, and not do the work of the people. Work. Help me.
Help me. Help me. So here's another thing that is happening right now during the early voting and has not been resolved. It has to do with the opening and closing of the polls. And so one of our Nevada revised statutes, which happens to be 293B.330, the duties of the election board upon and after closing of the polls, public may observe handling of ballots. Okay, so the public is supposed to be able to, and there are people who have been trained to be observers. They've been trained volunteers. You know, they're not being paid to do this, but they know how to act, right? They know what they can and can't do. They don't interfere with the process that's happening. So in this particular incident, and I don't know if this one is in, I believe this might have been Clark County. On Saturday, October 26th, 2 observers went to a particular location, I won't say which, to observe the processes for the closing of the polling place per Nevada law. Upon arriving, they introduced themselves to the election board lead and told her they wanted to observe the processes for the closing of the polling place. The lead told them they could not stay through the closing. And again, I'm going to read it. Public may observe handling of ballots.
NRS. You know what? Laws matter, and we should follow some of them. The people dressed in blue don't ever follow any of them.
Okay, so when the volunteers offered to show her the statute that allows them to remain, so this is how they've been instructed, that, you know, they have a book with them, they show the statute so that, you know, they're doing the right thing.
Right, and
they're proving that they're correct, yes. During closing, she refused and told them to sit down while she called her superiors. Okay, that's fair enough, right? When the election board lead came back, she told the observers they would have to leave. They again offered to show her the statute, and she again refused, so they left the polling place. So they have submitted an incident report, I'm sure, because that's what happens. The Secretary of State has a place where you can submit these to him.
Complain.
Yeah, it's an incident report. Okay, so here again on Monday, October 29th. So that other one was on October 26th. On October 29th, 2 of the observers went to another location, different than the first one, to observe the processes for closing the polling place per the Nevada law, NRS 293B.330. When they arrived, there were 3 empty chairs. For the first time in their observations this past week, they were asked what their political affiliations were. It was explained that the chairs could only be occupied by 1 Democrat, 1 Republican, and 1 independent. So even though all 3 chairs were empty, they could not both stay.
That's Nevada Supreme Court stuff. That is not what the legislation intended.
Right.
And that is bogus.
And unfortunately, until this stuff gets challenged, you know, and in the meantime...
Well, challenged multiple times, right? I mean, best I know, we keep bouncing the ball off the wall.
Right. And so much of this, because I've done a challenge, I did a challenge on my own signature because I told them it wasn't my signature and they tried to tell me it was. And what you get back is a notification from the Secretary of State that says, first of all, yes, that is your signature. That's what I was told. And it doesn't fall into a particular area of complaining. So basically, too bad, go away.
This is what I was talking about before. When your government works for you, they care about what we feel and think. When they are bigger than us, they tell us what to feel.
It's true. So I have one more, and this is from Volunteer Nevada. She sent out an email and she says, please share this email with every voter you know. So for every one of you voters out there, I'm going to share what she has to say. She says, hello, fellow voters. Nevada has laws that apply to our elections. They're called statutes and regulations. As a voter, you should know about them. Please note this one. She has one in particular she's concerned about. If you have a vote by mail ballot and you want to vote in person instead, if you bring your vote by mail ballot in its envelope to the poll location and it's your turn to vote, the election board officer should tell you to open the envelope so that the mail ballot can be accessed and surrendered. This is the thing I was talking about cancel ballots. If they don't ask you to do it on your own. So as a voter, you really need to understand what your role is as well. And what's
when
supposed
you
to
vote
happen.
in person, your ballot is no longer valid, right?
Right.
But,
So if you bring it,
give it to somebody, you need to. It's just like I'm going to call it like protecting yourself, right? When you get junk mail, don't you rip stuff
Exactly.
up? You rip it up.
So if you do happen to bring that in with you, then by law, they are to mark your ballot canceled. Yes, exactly. And like I say, in the time period when I did it in 2022, they did have a cancel stamp. I don't know if that's still valid, but have them write canceled and put it in a container labeled canceled ballots, which was another issue. That they didn't have that when we were doing.
I know it'd be a silo, right? Because everyone gets a mail-in ballot, everybody voting there theoretically has another ballot.
It's true. It's true. So if your surrendered vote by mail ballot is not processed this way, it is a violation of our election laws. You can ask for the polling place election board chair, whose responsibility it is to resolve this issue. So if they won't do it, you do need to follow up. I would not surrender it to them if they won't properly cancel it. And you might think, oh, you're just trying to stir up trouble. No, not really.
Laws. Laws are laws.
And when you know what the law is, as long as you just stay calm and don't, get rattled and don't make a big to-do.
No name calling.
Yeah. But at this point, because some of the folks that are behind the desk maybe haven't been trained properly, by letting them know that you understand what the Nevada Revised Statute says, it helps them as well. So, and I know that sounds like, oh, you're just trying to stir up trouble. Really not.
No, and
really
my experiences, and we joke about left, working and stuff, but it's my experience that those folks care.
They do. And I will tell you, I know that we had certain left-leaning folks in the one location. They were as concerned as we were when they started to understand that they didn't understand what they were supposed to be doing.
Right, they want to do the right thing, but if they're not educated on it, again, that's a registrar of voters, attorney,
Yeah, but it's up to us as the people that do know what the law is to be considerate and to be measured in our presentation of, hey, this is a violation. I know a lot of people get a little heady and
I don't know. Looks to me like Nevada courts ought to be paying a little attention.
You would think.
Because they're persona non grata, right?
Well, that's the other one that came up with that they ruled from the Nevada Supreme Court, and I don't have that particular one. I didn't bookmark that one. The Nevada Supreme Court, I think it was yesterday or the day before, ruled that ballots received that are not postmarked can still be processed 3 days.
Oh, I thought it was 4 days.
3 days.
How ridiculous is that?
So we have a wonderful person that we know in the post office, and we said, hey, do you not postmark the ballots? And she said, yeah, we do. Why would we not?
Right. Why wouldn't you use that?
And so from her account, and she just said, we would. Yes, we would.
They automatically postmark everything.
Yeah. So why would there be? I mean, I can see, again, it slips through, doesn't get postmarked for some reason. That can happen. I just don't think it's in large quantities. And so anyway, those are just some of the violations we've seen, some of the activities that are going on out there
It's
for.
all perfect. There's no mistakes anywhere. Never was, never was. Just keep yourself.
And Ed put up our sign, Trump secure border, Kamala open border. I know you might not all agree with that. However,
If you're looking at the podcast, it's in your face now.
well, the thing is, it was secure when Trump was in, and it's not secure now. And all she has to do to prove herself, ask her to close it. If you're going to vote for her, call her surrogates and say, hey, how come we're not closing the border? Maybe it's not a deal breaker for you, but it's a deal breaker for me. And I cannot understand how anybody can look at this and say, she's the border czar and has been for 4 years. And not quite 4, almost 4 years. And I'll be technical. And she still hasn't closed the border. Why not? Why are we paying these people more money than many of our seniors make? Why is that? It's horrid.
It is, and we end up, I mean, we can get into the left talking about Social Security and Medicare, but best I know, they let it go to these folks.
Yep.
Challenged, whatever, but they take it from the whole and it doesn't last. And so Democrats again are lying. They're the ones making it more dangerous.
So if you're a supporter, I just ask that you go to thisistreason.com and check that out, and then look up different stats about what Kamala Harris has done on the open border issue, and then vote your conscience from there.
Well, have you seen the commercial from Trump where he has the oath of office and she says it, and then it shows all this stuff? It is in a direct conflict. She is treasonous. Yeah,
I just say, do your homework. That's what I would ask. And again, if you're going to support her, then go to her surrogates. And if you know her, go to her and say, close the darn border. That's what we need. And that's how I'm going to end this show.
I'll go to the surrogates. I was going to show any mass media person, right?
Well, they won't do anything. All right. And that's it for this hour. We are going to still be on. You'll still see us, but you're not going to hear us right now because we're going to take a little break. And then we'll come back for a second hour. So hang in there, everybody. We'll be back very soon. And hopefully, if I can shut us down, we'll say goodbye for the moment. Hey, folks, we're back. Oh, I think I blew his
I
eardrums
was going to
out.
say, we
Sorry.
are unmuted.
We are unmuted. I am Janice Hermson. I'm your host for What's the Story. This is Ed Knoll, and he is our co-host here. And Doug Ashby, we miss him. He's hanging out at his house right now, I think. And if you're listening, Doug, we miss you.
Yeah, we do, Doug. We exchanged you for a Trump secure border sign today.
Yeah, Ed wanted to throw that one up for us. And
Well, I thought you'd approve.
yeah, I'm sure he would. Pardon me. All right. So, in our second hour, we are going to talk about our word of the day is omniscient. And we are going to talk about that and how it relates to point of view in when you're writing. However, for the moment, we just had somebody who came in and brought some stuff that he wanted us to share.
Timely.
It was very timely because I wanted to read. We had a press release that went out recently, and I want to read it, and I hope it's not too long for everybody to absorb. But I think it's really important because this is about somebody in our own community here in Northern Nevada. And
It's truth. It's coming from What's the Story, so it's truth. But it may be wordy, but it has value.
it does have value. So I'll try and kind of run through it kind of quickly but I do think it's important to hear. So it's national attention on Nevada's Supreme Court case, a historic fight for the right to redress of grievances. Prominent businessman Robert Beadles battles for First Amendment rights in U.S. Supreme Court, not Nevada Supreme Court, U.S. Supreme Court, amid unexplained media blackout on landmark case. So in a compelling demonstration of the First Amendment right to redress grievances, Robert Beadles, a Nevada businessman with a lineage tracing back to founding father Benjamin Franklin, has filed a significant case with the United States Supreme Court. This case, submitted individually and not through an attorney, has reached a rare milestone. The court has requested a response from the opposition, indicating that at least one justice may be interested in hearing the case. And they do require 4 to be interested before, he can actually get it there. But in this case, they did. One apparently has because they've asked for a response. This unprecedented move brings the spotlight on Beadles' unwavering pursuit of justice and transparency in election oversight. The National Center for Constitutional Studies defines the right to redress as a citizen's ability to seek government solutions for their grievances without fear of retribution. A right Beadles claims is at the heart of his case. His pursuit began in Nevada's Washoe County, where he filed for the removal of specific county officials tied to election concerns. Although the case was dismissed on technical grounds, Beadles' persistence has brought it to the highest court in the land, a path few cases achieve. While local media were quick to attempt to smear Beadles as an election denier, and
They still do.
yeah, they still do, and widely reported his $106,000 attorney fee payout after his Nevada Supreme Court loss, there has been a notable absence of media coverage on his current Supreme Court filing. Have you heard about it? This silence has left many wondering, why isn't the media covering what could be a landmark case? Is this just another election denier case, Beadle asks? I don't think so. This case is about every American's right to redress grievances without retribution, a fundamental right that transcends state lines and political divisions. It's about protecting the Constitution. The case presents 4 elements of historical significance: its novelty as a redress case reaching the Supreme Court, its applicability to the constitutional values established by Beadles' ancestor, its memorability, and its potential effect on legal and societal standards nationwide. Echoing Franklin's words from the Declaration of Independence, Beadles underscores that the pursuit of justice is woven into the fabric of American democracy. So, the case is there. The opposition was supposed to provide their response by October 28th. I'm going to actually take you right now, right here on the.
I was going to say, while you're doing that, and things of real importance and things that show me communism or socialism is Beadles could not find an attorney to represent him.
It appears that, yeah.
Right? I mean, they're all left leaning. He had to
Either
do
that or they were afraid. Yeah.
And judges are supposed to be beyond fear.
Yes.
And they're fearful, and the government squelched us, right? It wasn't people, it's the left government squelching us illegally.
So as you can see, I just went to the U.S. Supreme Court, and I'm going to go here to case documents, docket search. So if you want to follow this, just come down here. Once you have the case number, you can just put that in. But here, just type in Beatles, and you're going to see that there are actually three different dockets, but this is the correct one, the very first one. And here is where that case sits right now. So if you look, it says September 16th, 2024, petition for a writ of certiorari filed. And I may not have said that correctly. Sorry. Response due October 28th. So they're waiting for a response, which, again, could have been filed. There could have been an extension requested. Any number of things could have happened at this point. We'll just have to wait and see. But if you would like to follow that case, that's how you do it. You can look right there. You don't have to wait for the media because they probably won't tell you anyway.
Oh, that's not coming out. And if it's coming out, it's not true.
Well, it'll be slanted. That's what I would say.
Yes.
It may be true, but I think it would have some slant to it.
So they often omit,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Right. And just leave the worst.
So that's how if you want to look something up, you hear about a case or something, that's where you go. So ironically, while we were on our break, we had a customer that walked in and he said, hey, I have an agenda that's going to be happening at the Washoe County Republican Assembly. He says, I want to share this with you. And it has to do with the Supreme Court, the U.S. Supreme Court, writing letters to the Supreme Court supporting the Brunson case. Now, I don't know if anybody is aware of the Brunson case. There are a number of them. So here's what there's a video, there's all sorts of stuff, but the Constitution is set up in such a way that the people can go to the most powerful branch of government, the Supreme Court of the United States. In 2020, there were 100 members of Congress who were claiming with evidence that they had concern that needed to be investigated. Petitioners Loy A. Brunson and We the People bring up that hundreds of people brought up possible malfeasance during the 2020 election. Loy Brunson's argument is that Congress was constitutionally required to investigate this evidence. Through their oath of office, in which every official swears to defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. Loy is not suing to change the outcome of the election. He's not suing to put someone in office. He's suing to remove the security breach that every member of Congress refused to do their job and defend this country. We, the people, petitioned to the Supreme Court for, guess what? A redress of grievances.
Yeah.
There you go. Article 6 of the Constitution requires that everyone who takes an oath to the Constitution to be bound by that oath, and you are responsible, you are liable. And so this is a Rule 11 petition letter, and I guess this is unusual from all the videos that I've seen from Loy Brunson. I apologize, I'm not like super versed on this part of it, but
I was curious, didn't they get kicked for standing before?
I don't know. I don't remember. I know that
But
they
this
chose
standing-
not to hear it.
I was going to
know.
say, I don't know. It seems to me like every person in the United States, born and unborn, has
Seems that
standing
way.
in that.
Yeah. So, so they are asking for the citizens to send a letter. Dear United States House of Representatives, Federal Reserve System. Oh, sorry. This is a different cause. So he did he did provide us with a letter. So if you're interested in doing this, I'm looking to see if he's got the case number here. He does. So let's go back. Since I showed you how to get to Beatles' case, let's go back. Pardon me, I've got a little frog in my throat there. And let's go here. And as I said, once you know the case number, you can just jump right in here and say, so this case number is 22-1028. And so we'll just jump on there. And here it is. This particular one happens to be Arlen Brunson. So it's not the Loy Brunson case. This one is the Arlen, but I believe that they are identical. So they have petitions. So you can see all the activity that's happened on their case They filed the writ, then it was not accepted for filing, so they had to do a corrected version. So I'm not going to go through all of that, but their rehearing was denied. However, my understanding is that they are leaving it on here for some reason, and I can't quite figure that out. So I will try and investigate this further, but this just kind of came in, and because we were talking about the Supreme Court, I wanted to talk about this as well. What they're asking is that people write to SCOTUS, the Supreme Court justices, and they've given a sample letter here saying that you're a concerned United States, or I'm concerned the United States has experienced a serious security breach and violation of every citizen's greatest power in the republic, voting. I ask that you stand against the adherence of foreign and domestic enemies and uphold the supreme law of the land by granting this petition. So it's basically supporting this petition. I don't know if the justices have indicated to the Brunsons that they have to have more support. I'm not sure what the motivation is, but you can contact me. Go to janicehermson.com, and you'll be able to find a link there to contact me. And I'm happy to share with you whatever I can find out about this, so that you can send a letter as well if you want to support them. But here on this page, you can look at all the documents, see what they're saying. Make sure you know what they're talking about before you just, arbitrarily jump in there and do it. I don't recommend that.
Well, we owe these folks a thank you, right? Folks that push and challenge the status quo and challenge things that are wrong take a lot of heat, right?
They do.
I mean,
yeah.
heck, I don't even talk in public because I'm going to get beat down by neighbors, right? I'm just
he doesn't talk in public, but he talks on the radio.
Yeah, I do. But people get the beat down, and it's ridiculous. It's nice that they've taken the step and gone to the Supreme Court, because our county's just crooked, folks. It just is.
Well, and I think that the fact that this case is still sitting there tells you something. And again, I'm not an expert on what happens at the Supreme Court. I've learned a heck of a lot in the last year. But I will say that I think it's something we all need to pay attention to, because this is our country, our lives, and it's
not going to be if we give it away.
Right,
if we don't do these things and stand up for our rights, it's just going to go away.
Yeah. Well, and the whole signage here that we got up today about Kamala versus Trump as far as the border is concerned, please do your homework. Please check that out. Find out what you believe to be true. You can see what I believe. I just don't believe that she's going to do anything.
Though President Trump has been accused for, best I know, his entire life of being a liar and someone who has not told the truth, the left, everything they say is a lie. I mean, fact check them. I'd say Mr. Trump is accurate. And something else, he's always honored. And when he was elected president, he did his election promises. Those things he committed to doing for the people, he did. I've never seen a president do that.
No.
Not in my life.
And not the people that we elect and send to Congress, they almost always don't do what we ask them to do.
Well, right. Like our senator here. I mean, have you seen her anywhere?
Yeah.
Do you
and now
know
all of a sudden
she's done?
bipartisan. All of a sudden she's bipartisan. I couldn't believe that when I heard that. The only time you see her or hear from her is during election time.
That bunker she stayed in during COVID must have been built by Republicans.
Yeah.
That's the only way she could be bipartisan.
Yep. And so I during the break again, I got an email, and this is from Volunteer Nevada. And I hope that she doesn't mind, but she asked for my opinion. So I thought I would read this, and I have not read the whole thing, but this is relative to the surrendering of the ballot. So I may just jump a little bit on it as I go, as I'm reading it, so that I can share pertinent parts of it. So Nevada law states that voters can surrender their vote by mail ballot or sign an affirmation that they have not already voted in order to vote in person. So in the last segment, we talked about the fact that you can take your ballot in and surrender it. Well, what she's talking about here is that if you don't have it, that you sign an affirmation that says you've not already voted in person, okay? And that's fine. You're swearing that you didn't vote. You didn't vote by mail. You didn't use that
Until we
ballot.
get like 200% of voter rolls, right? 200%
Right.
eligible voters
Right.
voting.
So, however, voters are reporting, because she's getting reports from her observers, voters are reporting that they've been told all they have to do is swear they will destroy their ballot in order to vote in person. Pinky swear, right?
Hey, if the light of the Constitution, that certainly holds weight.
Where is the statute or regulation that says that? And who was responsible for that decision? So, did the Secretary of State say it's okay to do that? Did one of the clerks in one of the offices say that they could do that?
You would hope it's NRS, right?
Right. So, no, but it's not.
It's not.
Nevada law states that election board officers, in parentheses, poll workers, are to mark a surrendered mail ballot canceled. Excuse me one sec. However, one voter reported that when they surrendered their mail ballots so they could vote in person, that election board officer drew lines through all the candidates' names on their ballot instead of writing canceled on the ballot. When the voter asked why, they were told that was the way they do it at that polling location.
What?
So where is the
They all got
statute?
their own rules, 150 of them?
Yeah.
How nice.
Who was responsible for that decision?
So there's some head poller there.
There is somebody. Nevada law states a person observing the conduct of voting at a polling place may remain in an area designated by the chair of the election board to observe the activities at the polling place. However, there's another however, there are observers reporting they're being asked what their political affiliation, we talked about this, is about. They're allowed to take an observer's seat. And if someone from the party is already sitting in the seat, you're not allowed to observe. I just don't even know where that is. Where's the statute?
There's so much logic in that. That's horse hockey.
Yeah, that was the 3-chair thing,
Yeah.
right?
Right. That's like musical chairs, right? Too bad if your chair gets pulled, you're effed.
Yeah. If the person is to attain a balance in party representation, perhaps it's a worthy goal. However, the way in which this is being done causes confusion for everyone who arrives to observe. Where was the advisory that should have gone out ahead of time for the purpose of being considerate and maintaining an orderly process? So 3 people from one party show up and only one person from another. Does that mean that the other people have to leave? That just doesn't make sense. All right. Nevada law states a person observing the conduct may remain in the designated area in the polling place after the polls close. Again, she's reiterating
they've been
thing.
closing thing. Yeah. I mean, they've been violation of Nevada law multiple times and likely every place.
Yep. Observers are reporting they're not being allowed to remain and observe the processes of the closing of the polling place. Again,
if you're going to cheat, that's when you cheat, when the doors are closed.
Yeah. But how could they cheat? I thought about this and I said, well, what in the world can they be doing after the polls close? When we were ballot running, we were picking those up before the polls closed. So there might be a couple. No, there wouldn't be any left. There wouldn't be any left.
There couldn't be, right?
No, there wouldn't be any left.
Couldn't be.
So they wouldn't have paper ballots. So what are they doing on the machines that would cause a problem? And why wouldn't they want to have anybody observe that? I mean, the logic of it, it's almost like it's just to stir it up. It's not because there's anything going on.
Hey,
how could they cheat?
You're keeping me from making dinner early, right? It's an inconvenience, right?
Yes. So who is responsible for these violations of Nevada's election laws? Nevada Secretary of State?
Has to be.
The county clerks or registrars? Well, yeah, but the county clerks and registrars all have their own little world too,
but
right?
The buck stops with the Secretary of State on elections.
Yep. Is this due to poor training of the people working in our elections?
Yes.
Are they taught anything about Nevada's election laws so they can do
No.
their job? I love that he's the answer man. Where is Cisco Aguilar? Nevada law states he's responsible, so you were correct, for the execution and enforcement of the provisions of Title 24 of NRS and all other provisions of state and federal law relating to the elections in this state.
Where's he going? Is he leaving on vacation too?
However,
Aguilar. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know where he's
I
going.
mean,
I don't
best
know where
I
he
know, I
is.
haven't seen his face on the news and newspaper since he's been elected. I mean, I don't even know what he looks like.
He has been to a number of events for the relative to voting, to the different political affiliations and whatever. So he's been around in those circles. Well, he was at the rally.
So the rally for Kamala, it had like
Yep.
15 people.
Wow.
No, it did.
Is that all it had?
It was, so that's my count.
Oh,
I'm biased on the
Oh.
count, so it might have been 18.
oh, oh. Well, I didn't see how many were there. I know that the next day, who was the guy that was there the next day? There was a
Oh, I remember.
it was-
Oh,
he's
no,
the-
it was Bill Nye the Science
there
Guy.
you go. Yes, and they had a bigger
What a
crowd.
turncoat. Talk about.
But they had a bigger crowd at that one.
Well, I would have gone see Bill Nye until I found out he was thumping for Kamala. Help me, Bill. Right? To tell me, where is her education stance? Right? Where is she about lifting our kids up? She's about keeping everybody beat down. It's horrible.
Yeah.
It's just horrible. It gives me nightmares.
Did I talk about the National Guard in the last segment?
No, we have to
Oh.
bring the National Guard out. They
We
fly by
do.
my house pretty much
We
daily.
do have to bring up the National Guard. Let me find
They're good
that.
guys.
They are good guys, yes. So let's find, that's the month long. Here we go. So I'm going to share my screen again. And, oh, wrong one. Lombardo is going to activate
Who?
Governor Lombardo. Remember that guy?
Almost I don't, right? I mean, what's he look like, too? I mean, he's a disappear. Come on. We got a Republican governor. Get your face out there. It's Nevada. You could drive every day, hit every county in like one day.
So here we go. Minus hopefully the, here we go. All right. So Nevada Governor Lombardo announced he'll activate a small contingent of the state's National Guard as precaution to support law enforcement on Election Day next week. Governor's office said Monday the decision mirrors Nevada's routine preparation for past elections and is meant to ensure that all possible resources are in place for any potential challenges. We do not expect these personnel need to be deployed. As a first responder, I know firsthand the importance of being prepared, and this decision reflects my commitment to safety and preparedness on Election Day. Activation will be limited to supporting the state and local resources. On Tuesday, November 5th, 60 members will be activated on standby status and stationed in the National Guard facilities in both Carson City and Las Vegas.
Wow.
They will be available.
What? They got rims already in case Kamala needs like mouth to mouth or some like heart pump.
Don't even go there. They will be available to support preparation for Election Day, such as traffic enforcement and building security. That was kind of one of my questions. What are they going to be doing?
Probably construction around.
Well, they said traffic
I was-
enforcement and building security. They're going to build fences?
Well, at the primary, they had construction right down at the 9th Street, right
That's
down.
true, they did.
You couldn't get in there.
Yeah,
I
we
had to
couldn't.
drive around the block backwards to get in.
Yeah.
They had it blocked with construction.
They can also coordinate and facilitate communication across the state if more support is needed. So call in the Guard. I share Governor Lombardo's commitment to safety, preparedness, and transparency. Nevada Secretary of State Francisco Aguilar, the state's top elections officer and a Democrat, said in a statement, actually, I don't understand why they have to say he was a Democrat. That wasn't
Yeah, and
important.
you know
issue.
what? Best I know, too, all the rural counties except Clark and Washoe got it right. They
Yep.
do right stuff, right?
Yeah, this proactive decision helps ensure that we've made the most of our available resources across Nevada. Our election officials and law enforcement leaders have been preparing for November 5th election for years. Except that-
Horse hockey on that years thing, best I know.
No, because he only started the system we're using for our election
Like a month
this-
ago, right?
yes, yes. So
Right,
we
for the
got prepared
primary.
for years.
It was the primary. He hadn't done squat. It's a new system.
It's
Why
a new
do-
system. And he's running it independently without a side-by-side.
Yep.
Ridiculous.
Can't count. There's no paper counter, right?
I don't know about that. I didn't
I
go
mean,
to
they
the.
don't have a receipt for that.
I don't know.
electronic-
I didn't go to the presentation, so I don't know.
I don't know, man.
This frees up the resources on election day so they can focus on delivering a safe and secure election. So
And
there
yet,
you have it, folks.
okay,
Safe
you
and secure, folks. Safe and secure. That's what we're
election
doing.
deniers are better than election liars.
Did you just make that up?
I did.
That's pretty funny. All
It's
right.
true.
It's true.
I like truth. What's the Story is a truthful show.
It is. And I know we did a lot about elections, but with it only a week away, I just felt it was really important for us to cover as much as we could, let you know what's going on out there. If you're just a regular person that doesn't deal in political stuff, if you're not, out there doing all of that, you're not going to know this because you're not going to be exposed to it.
So you have to be. I was going to say, where do you hide, right? Where do you hide from these negative ads? Best I know, the aggregation of all those things drag you down. I listen to Sirius Radio in my car, no ads.
Right. But the thing is, that's the thing. If you're the average voter, you watch TV, you see the ads like you're talking about, you see billboards. If you're into the political world, you see it differently. And the two just don't blend because the average person just sees what's on television. So it's who has the most money is what you're going to see, right?
But people, most people don't buy into the fact that campaign, folks can lie, right? It's contrary to their lives. So when they make statements about themselves or others that are untruthful, I think there's harsh judgment.
Well, and again, I kind of go back to before I started to think that there was something wrong. And I just kind of looked around and I did homework. I did look, I read the pamphlets and things like that, but I wasn't involved in any party and I wasn't involved in a way that I could really be as educated as I am now. So I think that this is hard. If you're just listening and you're the average person, it's hard because you're like, well, how could all this stuff be going on and I don't know about it? And how come the media is not talking about it? And if they do talk about it, it always seems like it's biased to one party. And so then you become tainted the other way to where you say, oh, I don't believe anything, that they say.
That media is like the enemy within.
Right. So, so what do you believe? And that's the danger is that we don't believe anything. And we have
Well, that's where we're going.
Yeah.
I don't know how you can't go there. The lies.
Well, and you know what I always say, you find more than one source. I've told you guys, there have been times when I found something and I thought I was right. And then I have to come back later and go, that was wrong.
To me, it's so funny, right? To me, you go, hey, Kamala Harris and Trump running for president. What have they done to that date, right?
Right.
So to me, they've both been out there, been in office, done things. To me, you make your choice based on what they've done,
right.
Not what wildest dream. Heck, I'm surprised people aren't saying everyone in this country will win lotto if Kamala wins.
And the thing
she
is,
couldn't give more stuff away.
I do know people who are going to vote for Kamala.
Oh,
and unfortunately,
so do I.
And I've said what I said to you guys about asking her about the border, asking her surrogates to close the darn border. And they're saying to me, oh, I'm not voting for her. I'm voting against Trump. Well, then what I'm going to say to you is, if you don't agree with her, vote for somebody else. You don't have to vote for Trump. Vote for somebody else, not her.
Write me in.
Because it doesn't make sense. Because now you're voting for
the
what
opposite
would be
of what you want.
Yeah, exactly. And you're not even like looking at what your possibilities are when you have that person in office. So we already know she won't close the darn border. And we already know we have too many people here that shouldn't be here. And they're getting money that they shouldn't be getting. So anyway, I'm going to get off my stump.
The amount of causes and decisions that presidents make is omniscient.
I don't think that's the proper use of the word.
So, but my point will be made.
Yes, your point is made.
My point will be, if you're voting for her because of abortion, that's cool. If there's no country left, what's it matter? Right?
Well,
I mean, there are so many issues. Folks that are one-line issues have to look at the whole.
and if you're going to talk the abortion issue in Nevada, there is no issue.
It's already
It's
etched
already
with granite
6 months.
stone
Yeah.
in the Constitution. They can't change it.
They-
They're scaring people like they
Yeah, but
can.
they can't.
They're scaring
No.
people. Ask Jackie Rosen.
Yeah. But in Nevada, you're protected.
Yeah.
You're already protected.
I could probably get an abortion here.
You might. You'll have to claim a different, sex and all that. So let's talk about point of view.
That's not a problem, best I know. Not with government.
So let's talk about points of view. How about we do that?
I thought we were having some points of view.
We do have points of view. We all do. And I should remind everybody, if you do want to comment, you can text to 775-399-2888. And of course, if you're on Facebook or YouTube, you can comment there as well. We air our show on 3 different Facebook pages: LaRue Press, What's the Story, and Bookhound, and also America Matters, I should say 4. Also America Matters. And we're on Rumble. But Rumble, I'm not getting the comments if you're commenting there, and I got to fix that, but I haven't had a chance to do that yet. So anyhow, that's the deal. But I'll see the comments later if you comment on Rumble. And we're on from 3 to 5. I'm just trying to do all my homework here.
No, it's
3 to
all
5 on Tuesdays, 7 to 9 on 93.7 FM if you're in Northern Nevada. So you can listen to us lots of ways. We're also on Apple Podcasts and all the.
You can listen to us on your way to vote.
There you go. Please do. That would be great. All right. So I had mentioned that the word of the day was kind of like going to also apply to writing. And it does, because if you are a writer, and generally you're not going to use this so much in the nonfiction writing, but more so in fiction writing.
Right. You own your world. Right?
Yes, you do. And you have to make decisions about what kind of viewpoint you're going to take as the person who's writing your book. So the point of view, or they call POV, in a story is a narrator's position in the description of events, and comes from the Latin word "who cares," which literally means point sight. The point of view is where
POV, POV, sounds
punctum visus.
sounds like a
If you're
vodka.
Latin. Yeah, it does. So it's where a writer points the sight of the reader. So this is what I want you to see, right? In a discussion, an argument, or nonfiction writing, a point of view and his opinion about a subject. This is not the type of point of view we're going to focus on. And I am going to post this. I'll do this after I get off the show. I'll post the link to this article because it's super long. It's like 75 pages or something. It's like a book. So, but here's why it's so important. For a fiction writer, point of view filters everything in your story. Everything in your story must come from a point of view. So if you get it wrong, you could really hurt your own story, and you don't want to get it wrong. So personally, this person has read and judged thousands of stories for literary contests and found point of view mistakes in about 20% of them. Actually, that's not bad. It's only 20%, right?
Yeah, I'd mess that up.
Yeah. The worst part of these mistakes are easily avoidable if you're aware of them. But before they go into, let's go over each of the points of view. I don't want to go into every single point of view, but there are 4 types of point of view. So let's just go through what they are. First person point of view. First person perspective is when I am telling the story. Well, that makes sense, right? The first person. None of this is magic, by the way. All of this is pretty common sense stuff.
No, I think it's all magic.
Second person, but when you don't know, though, it is magic, right? Because when you don't know, you're insecure. You're feeling like, oh, am I doing this right? And, I remember when I first started writing, I actually did a lot of things wrong. And many of them,
I doubt it.
many of them, especially because I wrote poetry, many of them I did by design. I wanted it to be that way. And people would say, no, you can't do it like that. And I was taking a creative writing class. And I said, but that's what I wanted to say. That's how I wanted people to perceive it. I want it to be wrong like that. And they just couldn't grasp it. So anyway, And I still have some of that poetry. The story is told, and second person point of view. I actually found something I did for my daughter.
I always hated people that told me how to do stuff. Like, you can't, how to write a story. It's my story.
It's my
you
story.
You can't tell
That's
me how to
right.
write it.
That's right. And when you write poetry, there's story to that as well, right? So, All right. So second person point of view. The story is told to you. This point of view is not common in fiction, but it's still good to know about. Very common in nonfiction. Third person point of view is limited. The story is about he or she. So have you ever thought about that when you read? You probably never think about it, huh?
So,
Because you're a reader, you're not a writer.
yeah, but so I noticed that.
You do
that
notice?
is something I look for.
Oh, okay. So it's a style for you.
Well, you can
Yeah.
see it. Usually it comes off the page, right? And so to go to Doug's point, right, there are certain styles I don't really dig.
That's right. Oh, I agree
Right?
with you.
And,
yeah,
and
100%.
so, like, I'm not going to read that book if I don't like that style. There's too many other choices.
Right.
And it is interesting in movies. It's more obvious,
Right.
when you have the narrator style, or
That's true.
right,
Yeah.
and you see it, but you know if you like it or not, and it depends on the subject matter and all that
Right.
stuff. But I notice.
That's interesting. All right. So so third person limited is the story is about he or she. This is most common point of view in commercial fiction. The narrator is outside of the story and relating the experiences of the character.
That way you don't have to know everything.
That's
and
right.
you can miss stuff and it's all good.
That would be my way of.
Well, right. If I was a writer, I'd go that route.
I think I would too. Third person point of view, omniscient. Oh, there's a word.
Well, right. So you can pretend to be like Zeus.
Yeah, the story is still about he or she, but the narrator has full access to the thoughts and experiences of all characters in the story.
So I think that is Murder, She Wrote. Right? Jessica Fletcher has full control.
It's true. She does. Yeah. So she's third person omniscient. I know you've seen and probably even used most of these points of view. While these are the only types of point of view, there are additional narrative techniques you can use to tell an interesting story. So again, I think that this is a great article for anybody who's a writer who would like to kind of get maybe a clearer understanding of the different points of view and maybe define a little better for yourself, what you're using and why, or why you might want to use it or not use it.
Can
right?
I take our discussion one step further?
Sure.
And that is, right, it's a writing thing. We didn't get into ad writing. But, right, when you look at those perspectives, you see them all in presidential ads. Right? True. So you see the omniscient, you see them all, and they're obvious. What works best on folks?
Oh, I don't know. I'd like to.
Well, I don't know, but
that.
I think it's an interesting example of what you talked about that we see in short. Right. You don't have to read a book to get it.
Well, and that's the other thing. As a writer, there are so many things that you can use your skills for to make money while you're trying to maybe do. Well,
somebody's probably a millionaire on No on 3.
Exactly. Right. Well, the millionaires are back and all that. The Yes on 3.
Well, hopefully they're regular millionaires, not billionaires now, because they lost all their money.
Let's hope, huh? One can only hope.
Instead of mess up our elections, mess up their own. They've already ruined California, and that's where they live.
True. Very true.
They're just stepping out trying to mess us up.
Yep. So we've covered so much stuff about the politics, and our word of the day being omniscient also works for writing.
I have another question. Sure. In the neighborhood. Right. So, there's no electioneering, right? And you see those signs up and we get in.
I have tons of stuff about that.
Right. We get into the signs, but there was so if you wear a t-shirt with Trump, that is not electioneering in my view. If you wear clothing, I mean, if I got Ohio State t-shirt on.
Right.
It's the same with Trump or Combs or any of these clowns, right? Folks, celebrities, it's clothing.
Well, there are people that have been told to turn their shirts inside out. There was a meme on, I don't know if it was on Facebook or on Telegram or where it was, but it was so funny because they show this lady that was told she couldn't wear her shirt because it had, something on it.
She took it off.
She took it off. She's a heavy set lady walking in her bra.
Love it. I think that's
it was cute.
awesome.
It was really cute.
No, it is. It's real. So that's real.
It is real.
Right.
Yeah.
But why,
she was like, okay.
I noticed, if you're a young guy, they get angry. Because, I've seen they take offense. So they get all hostile before they get to the shirt taking off point. Generally, they get led to the side.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Right. If you got a sign, you're electioning.
Well,
but if you, no sign, no badges, just a shirt.
And electioneering is allowed, but it's 100 feet away from the location. So here's a question for everybody, since we're talking about that. Is it electioneering if you're 100 feet away, but your sign is so big that it can be seen from where they're voting? Is that electioneering? Because that actually happened.
So I will tell you right now, based on my gym, we'll go back to the gym and it's a big parking lot.
Oh, yeah, it is. Yeah.
It's like a football field. And the signs out front, no electioneering. If you pulled up in a car with a Trump sign in the parking lot, they would boot you. They would say that would be in their face, even though it's outside.
No, it's not 100 feet away.
No, it is. The 100 feet away is at the front door because they're way in the back of the gym.
Oh, okay, I got you.
Right, the parking lot, best I can tell, is open game.
Because I noticed
because they're way in a building.
At that particular location, I noticed that they had the people on the sidewalk that were doing the electioneering. But they're already
wrapped around. Oh, I was going to say,
no, they were electioneering, but they were doing it on the sidewalk. They were not in the parking lot.
That's too close. To me, the parking lot's open game because it's way outside that space.
No, I'm talking about on the sidewalk, on the outside.
Street.
Yeah, on the street. Yeah.
See, that parking lot should be open game, in my view.
Well, I know, and I think that I don't know. I think that we shouldn't wait until we're within the midst of all of this to even think about these things. But that's the only time we do, right? I don't think about it otherwise. I'll be honest. Until it's happening, you're like, oh, shoot, I didn't think about that.
Well, and
the law says, and so, okay, they're following the law, but then people are interpreting their own ideas about what the law is.
Well, I thought schools got rid of bullying, right? They've solved that problem. But best I know, politicians, poll workers, right? HOA presidents, right? People like their little fiefdoms and make their own rules. And I don't know, can't we all just get along?
It's true. Can't we? Or can we? I don't know.
It appears, if I'm to judge history, that we can't.
All right. So I want to let everybody know this is the website. I'm going to share my screen again.
The Right Practice.
The Right Practice, yes. So I'll share the screen so you can at least see the page that you want to get published. Yeah, well. Not right this minute, thanks. So this is the website. Here's where they have their articles, different things. And I've just searched for points of view, which is how I came upon this one. And I will go ahead and share the link to it. But I wanted to share the website because especially when I use somebody's material, I like to at least give them some credit to, have people go and visit their site.
Well,
right?
Yes, and I want to give a shout out to Halloween. It's been disrespected by the election. But around Halloween,
and also Nevada Day, which is actually on Halloween.
Right. But Halloween scary writing generates a lot of books, right? Stories, great stories, classic stories of old time. It's a real good book time. Warm fires and hot apple cider, right?
It's true.
And so I just wanted to make sure we didn't omit Halloween.
All right. We didn't omit Halloween. We got it. Let me check off the box. That's
check it off the list. Check.
There you go. All right. So the right practice, that's where you want to go and check out types of point of view. I think it's a great article. I only printed 20 of the 75 pages that they have, but types of point of view, the ultimate guide to the first person and third person point of view by Joe Bunting. So check that out. And did you bring a book today or did you not?
I did. You know,
All right, I'm going to grab mine while we're
sure.
talking.
I've been, oh man, I go, right. I get angry kind of at election time. I go up and
He
down.
does. He really
I'm
does.
kind of moody. So in my car, I escape to Sirius Radio and classic rock and a small cigar. And at home, so you got to love this. This has like two of my favorite things on it, right? Mrs. Polifax and the Whirling Dervish, right? How can you not like
How can you not
represent
like that?
the Whirling Dervish? Total fun, murder mystery, just great stories. This story takes place in where is it? Mrs. Polifax is the Enchantress. There's a whole series of these
There is,
books
yes,
for,
and he's probably
for
read them
those
all.
folks, and I'm about read them all. But I love the way Dorothy Gilman
Who would
writes.
think that Ed would like Mrs. Polifax?
You know what, Mrs. Polifax, Murder She Wrote, Jessica Fletcher. Seems like I like old women. I don't know. Right? We had that discussion earlier.
We did have that discussion.
But you know what? If you were wanting an interesting read, whether you're on a plane, train, or automobile, Mrs. Polifax is the bomb.
Well, there you go. There's his recommendation. And I'm going to tell you, I'm hoping to have this author come on our show that, and not his fault or his agency's fault, totally mine. I haven't gotten in touch with them to get it done. So Deb, sorry. But I'm going to talk about his book anyhow. George K. Mihawk, Going Dark, a Liberty Unit novel. 9/11 was the beginning. It is a thriller. And Ryan Steck, who is the real book spy and author of Out for Blood, says a must-read thriller for anyone who's ever pondered the price of freedom and the sacrifices made in its name. So, boy, I'm just having trouble with these words these days. What can I tell you?
Well, it's just like, there's nothing wrong with being tongue-tied. Maybe your tongue's getting longer.
I don't know. In an era dominated by technology, unseen threats emerge, and triumph often lies buried in the past. When a sinister cyber terrorist scheme poised to plunge America, oh, this sounds familiar, into unparalleled digital darkness surfaces, he's right on time.
So is this truth or a political
Not
ad?
sure. Maybe he
Oh.
based it on truth. Paul Knox, a seasoned cyber forensics expert, finds himself thrust into a clandestine conflict spanning generations. So it goes on and on. But it is a thriller. Author's name, George K. Mihawk. Hopefully we'll have him on in the next few weeks. Again, you blame the host, not the
I was
agency or
gonna
the
say,
author.
That's an attractive book.
It is,
It's
isn't
a
it?
really attractive
Yeah,
jacket.
it's very nice. I don't know how well you can see it from there, but screws, whatever.
Well, the red matches your mouse red.
Ah, it does. Yeah, do you like that? I got my mouse here.
It was enhanced.
Okay, so I think we've covered all our topics for today. And again, we missed Doug, but he was going to tell us the story. He went early voting. Did you see that?
No.
Yeah.
Did he?
Yeah, he did. He went and stood in line. I knew you'd love it.
Well, we
I
all
wanted
knew-
him
you
to be
knew-
here. Doug, you were supposed to be here so that we could razz you about this.
Yep, because Jan knows how I feel about that. Right? I mean, I watch him every day as I come out of the gym. And
I know.
I had a yogi who came out of my class who were coming down, and she goes, "Look, no line. I think I'll vote." I'm like, well, look at
that
you.
makes
What an
sense.
adult. What an adult. Instead, it's so now it's wrapped around the building 5 times. It's a good time, right? I got a week to go, but I think I can wait for 5 hours.
Oh, my goodness.
It's ridiculous.
It's crazy. It's really crazy.
I think those folks should be taken off the voter rolls.
But I'm happy to see that there are a lot of people voting. No matter what your stripes are, you should be out there voting. That's what
Totally.
this is all about. And we all have different opinions, and they're all welcome. just make sure that
I hope.
no on 3.
Well, I hope 100% of people vote one time.
Right.
Right?
Right.
That's the perfect world. That's all we want.
Yeah.
And
good.
then let's have a result from that instead of the obfuscation.
Oh, he said it right. I cannot believe that.
It's
He never
because
can
it's
say that.
real.
Yeah, they're already setting us up. The media sets out narratives to say, oh, it's going to take a week. Oh, it might take 3 days. Oh, it might take 10 days. And yet, I want you to know that we were trying to get paper ballots and hand counting. And they told us in the regulations that they wanted to have us observe that we had to have it done in 7 days.
And we could have probably.
And we could have.
Right? The way that's
Yes.
broken down and the way the math works, it's faster
Yeah.
than the computers. The days they're
So,
waiting is.
well, not only that, think about all the prep that they have to do for because everybody says, oh, paper ballots are bad. You can't do that. Well, you probably don't realize if you're not involved that there's like a month's worth of time that they spend approving the machines. They have to test everything. They have to make sure certain things are right. And so they spend a month doing that. Then they have to do the after stuff. And a paper ballot is kind of like, I'm a printer. You print the ballots. It takes some time.
It's current, past, and future.
But they're printing ballots anyway. So that's part of the process that will happen anyhow. So you print out all the ballots and then you mark them with your little pen. And then you hand them in and people sit. And I mean, the system that we used was cool, wasn't it?
Awesome.
It was really awesome. I mean, it was like playing bingo. Boom, boom,
Well,
boom,
and
boom,
I
dab,
think
dab, dab.
everyone could understand when you take a bite size, right? These precincts
Yep.
of 400 people, you can get, hey, 2, 3, 4 people can count to 400 in less than an hour.
Well, and the way that it was developed, the way the system was developed, you weren't counting because the pages were numbered so that when you stopped, you knew exactly how many you counted. You didn't have to think about going back and the way that the Secretary of State here wants it done, they want you to, my daughter laughs at me because they want you to use tally marks, right? Where you do the 1, 2, 3, 4, and then cross the 5.
So it's like working for a printer, right? You can't think about it. You just do it, right? Yeah. You can't think about it.
You know all about that now.
Yeah, right? I work in the print industry. So you don't think about stuff. You just do it the same way for 100 years.
Yes, many, many years. That's pretty funny. Oh, my goodness. Well, we have enjoyed our time here today, and we thank you for joining us and hearing us out. And hopefully, again, go vote. Vote.
Be relevant. Have a clue.
Yep. And check out Going Dark. Good book. George K. Mihawk and Mrs. Polifax and the Whirling Dervish.
You know what? Mrs. Polifax for president.
She'd do a good job.
I think so. I think she'd be awesome.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much. This is What's the Story? Janice Hermson.
Ed Knoll.
And Doug Ashby on a little siesta or something.
Doug Ashby.
Right.
That was from Omniscient.
From an omniscient point of view.
Yes.
POV, baby. All right. We'll see you next week. And I'm thinking we might be at the polls next week. Ed and I are going to test it out and see if we can go do an on-site
We're
thing.
going to have like airbrush shirts on with we can wear Camilla stuff and go.
We'll make sure he has his press pass with him.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
All right. All right. Take care, all. We'll see you again next week.
Be well.